face the storm, the weight of doubt. The road is long and the path runs out, but there's a fire deep inside that pushes through, no place to hide.
Welcome to the Grit, Growth, and Gumption podcast. I am so excited today because I am bringing to you 4 ladies that are blazing trails and taking big risks on the airwaves and in our industry and in business in general. I want to introduce the ladies of the Risk Takers and Trailblazers podcast. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, ladies, guess what?
What?
It has been 11 months since I was on your show.
Yeah, 11.
Risk Takers and Trailblazers.
That's crazy.
And it doesn't feel that way at all, does it? No.
It doesn't.
No.
So there was like a little bit of a kismet moment during that episode that I said I would one day like to have a podcast like yours where I can help tell the stories of amazing women in business and share that with the world. And so here we are, full circle moment, pinch me moment, God wink moment, whatever you want to call it. It's a moment. Yeah. And I'm glad we're all here to share it together.
Very, very proud that you stuck to that, put it in the universe and decided that that's what you wanted to do. And I'm sure your followers are absolutely grateful that you bring your voice and your vision to the airwaves as well.
Absolutely. So let's start off by saying happy 22 episodes in.
Yeah.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
And Tanya, I want to start with you. Will you just take a moment, quick intro of yourself and a little bit about what the first season meant to you?
Absolutely. So I'm Tanya Coburn. I'm the VP of Marketing and Communications for Truflo, which is an insurtech out of Canada. I've been in the insurance industry for 13 years. So 2 years on the servicing sales broker side, and then the rest in marketing. Originally, I'm a musician. So I'm like a trumpet player, classical musician, musicologist. I was in the academic, field. And then I had an existential crisis at age 28 and didn't know what to do with my life, to be honest. And my family's in insurance. So both my siblings and my cousins are all in insurance. So let's put you in insurance for a year while you kind of figure your life out. And here I am.
Here you are.
So, and I've always been very, very passionate about highlighting women's voices. So in my field, even in music, there weren't a lot of female trumpet players professionally. There weren't a lot of scholars who were female. And so I always kind of felt a bit like other. And then in insurance, there's so many fantastic, amazing women who were a big part of my growth into the industry. And a big part of why I wanted to start the podcast was because I don't think people see that side of quiet mentorship that women do for each other in the industry. Mm-hmm. It's that you can be fully open with another woman because she understands what you're going through, whether it's like, I was up with my kids all night, I am not my best self this morning, or my hormones are crazy today, I'm just not.
Yeah.
There's this understanding that you can have, the unmasking that you can have with other women in the workforce. And I wanted us, like Helen, Diane, and Jen and I, to create that safe kind of like, yes, I feel you, I understand, and I'm there too kind of moment in the podcast.
Yeah, totally.
And Tanya, the one thing that I know about you that we share in common is that we're both coffee lovers.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Yes.
But I do have to call y'all out. I still haven't gotten my mug.
What?
And I have charm bracelets for each of you, but I'm holding them until I get that mug.
I will take responsibility for resending that, but I know I sent it. So I will.
Somebody out there in Georgia is holding that mug and enjoying it, and I want to hold it.
I will fix that. I will express post it.
Diane, what's up with you?
Oh, my turn. Okay. My name is Diane Jones. I'm the Vice President of Client Success, also at Truflo. Lucky to work with Tanya. My history is, 25 years in the insurance industry, but education was computer engineering. So the insurtech space was a great next step for me, and I have loved being a part of this podcast. This has been my biggest growth overall in the last, in my adult life, because this was completely out of my comfort zone. When Tanya was like, we should start a podcast, I was like, no, that's not happening. But the best thing is that we've been able to meet. I mean, when would we have had the opportunity to meet you, Tinsley? Well, we're up here in Canada, you're far down south. Like, how would we have had the opportunity to make so many amazing connections without this platform? So I'm so grateful to it. And I love that we're full circle on your podcast now after one of our first guests and
season 1.
Yes.
I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, we love it. So thank you for having us on. But yeah, that's me.
So Jen, and happy Mother's Day to everybody, whether you're a dog mom, a mom, girl mom, boy mom, plant mom, cat mom. We're coming off Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah.
And I know that Jen, you have a daughter, right? Is she 16 now?
15.
She's 15.
15, and then my son's 12.
And how's 15-year-old daughter? How's that going for you?
How's that going for me, guys? Ladies?
It's great.
Yeah, it's going good. There's ups and downs, but definitely better, more ups than it's challenging though, for sure. 15's a whole new era. I'm the type of person that's very good with babies. Like very good with babies. I didn't find the baby stage all that challenging for very long, but the teenager years, that's colorful.
It is colorful. They start to color outside the lines and test their boundaries, and they want more freedom, but you also have to balance that with, well, if you want more freedom, you need to have more responsibility.
Yeah.
I have we have a cup argument in my house. My daughter seems to amass at least 12 cups in her room every week, and I end up carrying them down. I don't understand what that's about. And also, this is a dumb question, but do you have you obviously have Starbucks in Canada. So I don't know if the girls up there are as obsessed with Starbies in Canada as they are down here.
It's crazy. Yeah. I don't remember buying or even just caring about Starbucks money. It's like, it's a thing, and it's a big thing. They walk there at school, right? We used to go to the gas station. They're definitely getting $6 coffees, but
$9. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We face the storm, the weight of doubt. The road is long and the path runs out, but there's a fire deep inside that pushes through, no place to hide. So Helen, how are you today?
I am perfect, thank you, in this very stormy, kind of cloudy day. But
we had a little technical blip just a moment ago, but we're motoring through.
Welcome to the day. And for those, I am Helen Riquinha. I am VP of Business Development nationally for a large brokerage here in Canada that has US exposure as well as some European. So I've been in the industry for a little while, and I'm like, I've had a passion since having gone through a divorce and being a single mom later in my life to really give back to women. And that's really when the girls were like, okay, let's do this podcast. And I was the fourth added. It really resonated with me to go, okay, this is part of what my calling is. This is part of what my next chapter is supposed to entail. And we talk about, business, not just insurance. And we talk about things like imposter syndrome. We talk about the mentorship piece. And that really is the passion within me that I wouldn't have gotten without the ladies here. And being able to put it in a format that I am very proud of. And unlike Jen, my children are older, and I just had the pleasure of moving home a 22-year-old from university.
Oh, wow.
Want to know how that's going?
Like from a boundary standpoint, I remember coming home one time on a holiday as a freshman in college. And I think I came in whenever I wanted to come in. And my mom was up and she said, I don't know whose house you think, if it's your house, but there are still rules. And I said, well, this will be the last time that I'm back on a long-term basis. And I never came home again after that. As far just a visit, I would visit, but I was just like, okay, we've kind of moved beyond that. So Helen, did you have to establish some ground rules with the 22-year-old or is everything good?
I think it's still transitional. I think a lot of different things, Jen's dealing with the young teenager and that cycle of life. I'm in a very different cycle of life with the kids, is that not only has she moved home, she's graduated university. So there's that emotional journey that she's also going through. And I need to let her go through that as well. Right. Yeah. So it is very different from all aspects. Right. Going to living by yourself. Now you're living with someone. I remember when my oldest daughter came home the very first time that she went away to university and came back for the summer. And I tell this to everyone that has children that are going away to university. That very first summer, or college in the States, that very first summer that they leave, that semester, that full year, and then they come back for that very first summer will be your toughest summer ever. Because to your point, Tinsley, it's now, okay, I'm used to be living on my own and now I'm home. Yeah. How does that demographic work, right? They're so used to doing their own things at their own times and coming and going. And that's always the biggest struggle. I
think what you're saying is interesting because like I remember this point in my life really vividly. And I think I came back twice. And I always think to myself, it's such a weird time because you want to be out on your own. You go out on your own. You're like, whoa, this is like scary, right? Mm-hmm. And it feels lonely. You want to come home for that comfort. But then, like you said, it's kind of like, well, I still wait a minute. I want comfort here. I want you to make my lunch, Mom, but I also am not coming home at midnight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I still want you to take my 12 cups out of my bedroom. And
yeah.
There's a Saturday Night Live skit for that too, where the ladies go home for Thanksgiving. I'll send it to you all, but it's like, I'm coming home for Thanksgiving and she's just expecting the parents to wait on her hand and foot. The mom's gone to Costco, like all the favorite snacks, the doing of the laundry. It was not that way for a lot of people, I'm sure, especially as working mothers. Everybody's got to pull their weight, even if you are in college or graduated from college.
Yeah, there was just a latest Saturday SNL skit that came out this weekend for Mother's Day. And it was someone, you may have seen it, the promo where she's talking about how great her mom is. And then in the background, her mom comes in causing chaos, going, I can't find this, or why is this going on? And they're in a restaurant at one point and they're having Mother's Day brunch and they've ordered it. And the mother goes, is there nuts in my eggs Benedict? And the daughter goes, there's never nuts in eggs Benedict. And the mother goes, well, I'm just double checking. And I just was like, oh my God, that's us as mothers, right? Like our children think one thing and we think the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love it. I think motherhood is so beautiful. I grew up with a sister. I had a single mom. I was a latchkey kid, which so many people can identify with. My mom raised us to be very, very independent. Mm-hmm. And my daughter is very independent. But what a trip. Just like your career, motherhood, the journey of it is not linear. And there's no manual for it.
You use a magic word there, latchkey kid. And when I think about today, I think that sometimes is that generation, even my kids, they weren't latchkey kids, right? They always went home to someone who was home, be it, it was usually their grandmother, right? But they went home to someone. So I think about our generation and how strong we were made to be and how independent we were made to be, right? And fast forward through the later generations, and have we done our kids maybe a disservice sometimes? Like, do you have to wonder if we haven't let them be so independent?
Yeah.
I think about that
every day.
I think about that a lot because I had two immigrant parents who worked all the time. So it was me and my siblings fending for ourselves when we got home
from school. And I think, with social media the last decade and a half, that's like what motherhood should be. And it's like you cut up these snacks in the bento boxes that are perfect and these artisan like dinners, and like your home is always clean, and like you're there doing the homework with the child, and you have so much pressure now, I think, as a mother to kind of live up to those standards. And then I think, well, when my kids come home from daycare, I'm like, the snacks are in the fridge, and like mama's making dinner. And then I think I need to bring up, and I have two girls, strong, independent women who know how to do things on their own, but not just know, but have the confidence to do things on their own and to work through difficult, challenging times on their own. Because, and that's that grit part, Tinsley, that I love in your book, which I'm always trying to teach my girls, is things are going to be hard. Things aren't going to work out the way you think they're going to work out. And it's how you deal with that and how you grow from that. You see, I'm quoting your book. I think that's what I'm trying to teach my girls, that I feel like sometimes can be lost from that like social media, perfect, over coddling world of parenthood right now.
Yeah, just keeping it real. My mom always kept it really real with us. Prince Charming is not coming. And if he does, great. But you better have your castle already built and everything laid out the way you want it.
Love that.
So important. It's so important.
And I feel too, like it's not just the girl side of it. Like I see that with my daughter, super independent, makes her own meals. But then it's my son who I have to like consciously check in to be like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to make scrambled eggs for the third time. Like, I want you to write it down, so we're not doing this again in a week, right? And just those things where, so I'm kind of finding myself, and I don't know if you'll find this too eventually, but it's like I have to almost like more focus there, like, and also being sure that I'm not like, because I grew up too, I say, traditional family, and it was kind of like, oh, it was girls that did the dishes, right? Girls that helped on the big dinners, Thanksgiving, blah, blah, blah. So I'm always consciously being like, no, you're going to come and set the table. No, you can, you're going to help cook this turkey. You're going to help cook these things. I just don't want it to be as divided as it was. I was growing up, right?
So I want to talk about the podcast a little bit. Who came up with the name Risk Takers Trailblazers?
Oh my God.
ChatGPT?
Can we get real?
Right? That's what I was going to say.
Okay, let's real talk. So
if you don't get real, I'm kicking you off the show. Yes, I want you to get real.
We were going to call it something to do with wine. Like, and under, I don't know, something like we uncorked, insurance uncorked. That's what it was.
Something about wine.
Something about wine. Like, relax, have a drink.
Yeah.
There was one thing that we didn't want to do. There was another insurance podcast in Canada that's popular, run by, four very prominent men in the industry, called The Pint. So we didn't want them to think we were copying them or trying to be like them. So what we ended up doing as a team is using ChatGPT to help us come up with a name. And so really it was good old ChatGPT who came up with Risk Takers and Trailblazers, because really, as women, putting yourself out there, it's hard. And, it's often takes the people who are rising up in leadership to recognize and mentor others to help rise them up. So my favorite quote is empowered women, empowering women. And so that's what, we wanted that name to feel that way, like kind of like a mentorship, but a two-way mentorship. We learn so much from you, and all of our guests and our listeners learn. And we're all risk takers in business. We're all risk, and insurance is a risk. Like, it's all about risk. So it's a bit of a play on that.
Yeah. And we literally all four of us had ChatGPT open at the same time, and we're feeding it with different prompts from, we wanted certain things for it to represent. And that's how we worked for 20 minutes. It was pretty funny.
So my favorite moment in learning about your podcast was I think it might've been the first episode and you guys stopped recording and you're like, this was fire. We will never recreate what we just did. And then there was a moment where you're like, wait a minute, that didn't record.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
What is that? I know what it feels like, but I want you to tell me what that feels like.
That is literally like oh my God, I can't believe we just did that. I think we collectively laughed for a good 10 minutes.
Yes.
We're like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe we did that. And I think, you just kind of indicated that magic that might have been in that one episode and we thought it was on fire, but yet we did it all over again. And I will probably tell you that it was better the second time.
Yeah.
Because we were more cognizant of it and we'd already talked about the stuff, but it was more of a, oh my goodness. I think it brought us together as a group, the four of us, because it was like, well, we rise together, we fall together, we all make mistakes together, right? Because we all kind of went, well, I didn't see the red button on and no one caught this during the whole hour conversation that we'd had with someone. That's the running joke behind it, is no one caught on that the little red dot wasn't on. Or that, and it was literally when Tan hit the button and it said recording on at the end of what we should have been recording. And literally our faces were like, oh my God.
That's the best
I cannot believe we did that.
Coming over our faces and being like, what did it just say? Did it just say?
But then you all laugh about it.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
Yeah, we're not
Brought us closer, because I think at that point, when you first get together as a group and you don't have that working dynamic yet, and you're all trying to be as perfect as you can. After that moment, all the masking came off. We're like, well, here we go.
Here it is.
This is us. And it was only our second or third episode, I think, that we did. And so now we do checks. Tan, did you hit record? Did you hit record? And so we do our
light.
You've gotten into a definite production groove. So you, Tanya, you segue into this point perfectly. Perfection paralysis, it's a thing. But as we all know, taking messy, imperfect action, whether you're recording a podcast, writing a book,
starting a
anything
business
in your career, does somebody want to grab that point and talk about, rather than trying to be perfect, how much fun and how much better it is to kind of be vulnerable and just let it ride?
Oh, Tinsley.
Yeah.
I
think it's interesting because I struggle with this one lots, and I think, and I got better over the years. But the thing is, and I was actually thinking about it this morning. If you don't know how to do something, and I think even if you do know how to do something and it's your seventh time doing it, right? If it's your seventh time doing it, it's going to be pretty boring if you're just so focused on perfection, right? I think if it's your first time doing something, you're just never going to start. And I think that's the biggest thing, is none of us had started a podcast, same thing, like you said, Tinsley, if you're writing a book or you're starting a business, you just have zero idea because you've never been there before, right? And if you're so focused on, it's going to prevent your learning, it's going to cause a whole lot of stress. I've definitely experienced that. And then you probably just won't start, right? And then that's such a shame of what you're leaving behind.
Well, that reminds me of our first episode. Remember, we recorded our first episode. It was just the four of us, no guests, and all of us were too scared to watch it.
Yep.
I had to watch it. I was editing it.
Yeah.
You know what got me though, and this is because I am a perfectionist and I'm trying so hard not to be. This is my life mission. And what got me is, so I edited and did everything like that, and the ladies were all like, oh, my hair, or I don't like the way my voice sounds, or oh, I don't feel like I sound smart enough. I was like, this is such a great episode. And then there's a quote I saw, just to circle back, and it said, perfectionism isn't about making everything perfect. Perfectionism is only seeing the flaws.
Right.
Wow.
Very good.
And that first episode, all of us were just seeing the flaws. We weren't seeing how great that conversation, how raw and how vulnerable a lot of these conversations were. We were like, why does my hair look like that? Or I didn't know my voice sounds like that. And I think when you instead of thinking of things being perfect, maybe don't be so self-critical.
Yeah.
I want to
Like,
grab that. I want to
right?
grab that because what I've seen, and I'm just as guilty as this. Think about you're watching the news. You're watching the news. You're watching a show. Male and female anchors are on camera. We immediately go for her. Like, has she gained weight? Has she changed the color of her hair? That color's not good on her. What is she wearing? Wow, she's looking old these days. Never are we saying these things about the man. We're really more trying to focus on what's coming out of his mouth. Is he credible? Are we picking up on what he's laying down? Does that resonate with you?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. I don't think I've ever, outside of my close circle, where I might be like, oh, that's an ugly shirt or whatever, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't think I've ever watched or listened to a podcast, a male podcast, where I was judging any level of the appearance. In fact, I wasn't even paying attention to it. Right. Now, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know of how much I pay attention to it. I'm also on audio a lot, but anyways, I don't know how, but I completely agree with what you're saying. I mean, I don't even think it's ever crossed my mind.
And that is why sometimes, unless I'm doing a group podcast, I do the audio because I usually have a messy bun or a sweatshirt on, and it breaks down the wall of you have to put makeup on, you have to show up. But there's also something about seeing somebody's face light up when they understand what you're saying, or really feeling the emotion that you can see with your eyes.
Yeah,
it's true. Even a boardroom setting, like even not on TV or not. On, I did a talk once where I said, for me to walk into a boardroom, if I rolled out of bed and showed up in the boardroom, how credible do I look? Right? If I don't walk in a suit and my hair done and my makeup on, done, what is the first impression that someone's going to think of me, even if I know what I'm talking about? But a guy counterpart can literally roll out of bed, put a shirt on, and look professional. And it takes a lot less of effort to have that first impression.
I struggle with this one. I remember getting into a full-blown fight, with my mom and my husband about this conversation. So my mom lived with us for 6 to 8 months when she was building her condo. It was the best 6-8 months of my life, aside from this fight. And and so we're in this conversation, and my husband comes from, we both come from parents who left in the morning, dressed to the nines, in heels, suits, dad, mom, everybody, right? And, at the time, this was about, 7 years ago or something. And at the time, I thought I don't know why, I was just holding close to the fact that I didn't think it mattered. I didn't think dress mattered. No matter what my parents taught me, I just said, no, you should be able to walk in a hoodie and runners, and it should have no bearing on what you're talking about, right? Or how you're perceived. Anyways, now that I'm like 7 years older, I'm just not sure how I feel about it, because I also think that it's good for you to show up, and I'm the worst for it. Trust me, messy bun, whatever. You should have seen me before this call, but right, I'm the worst for it too. But I also think I don't know. I think it's lost in a way, and I do think it helps. I don't know. So I'm torn.
That inequality piece, though, like a man and a woman can go to a meeting, and we see this a lot in tech. Diane, you can agree with me. The guys in our tech office come in with ratty shirts, sometimes a hoodie, sometimes sandals, no socks.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's bad.
It's tech. And they're like,
tech bros.
Tech bros, yes. And they're like super authoritative when they speak. If I did that, they'd be like, "Are you sick? Were you up all night with your kids? Do you need time off? Like, are you on drugs?" Like, there's no way. There's no way, because it's like, it's so ingrained in the fiber of our society that women have to present themselves a certain way that we don't even, it's not necessarily even conscious.
Yeah.
You know, there's that unconscious bias of you just have to, put on your best performance as a woman. It's like that same thing, that study I put on our LinkedIn, that women leaders are judged 76% more. So they get 76% criticism, and men get 2% criticism in leadership roles. And most of that 76 is character criticism. She's too snobby. She's too emotional.
She's too loud.
And that's taking data from over 250,000 people, like women and men leaders across the country. This is an American study. And so when you see that bias, it's hard to show up, you know, in your hoodie, in your unwashed hair, knowing all of that, knowing that you're going to be judged more critically, knowing that if you don't act a certain way, you're going to be judged more critically. So for me, it's how do we break that down? Like, how do we how do we start to crumble those standards?
So think about what the three of us have just left a conference weekend, right? And you go to conferences, Tan, and so does Tinsley. Think about for a second the difference of how the men show up at conferences and how they pack, and how women show up at conferences and what we pack. Just that alone, right? They can roll into those sessions in their jeans and their t-shirts or their hoodies. If you were to survey quickly at the back of the room and look at all of the ladies in those conference sessions, 90% of them are dressed as if they're going to the office.
So I just came back from a big conference with Brett, and I'll give her credit for this one. I packed, it looked like I was bringing back a body in my suitcase. The suitcase is way too large. Okay. And I overpacked. I'm a chronic overpacker. And I had all my red suits galore in there. And the first day of the conference, we were attending the Empower Women's segment. And I was ready to change. I came in with my red hat and a little, suede biker jacket and jeans and these gold, awesome,
nice
shoes of my daughter's. There, I don't typically wear tennis shoes in the airport, but I'm becoming a fan. And Brett said, "Don't change." And I said, "Come on, Brett, we're going to a women's conference. Like, I have these great red power suits today." "No, I want you to show up in that red hat and show up like you are." And I did. And it took me a couple of minutes to say, okay, am I really going to do this? I'm going to show up in jeans and kicks and this red hat. And I did. And I was so comfortable and it was so relaxed with it. And everybody kept coming up and saying, "Oh my God, the hat, the shoes, the everything." And I was like, you know what? There is something to be said. So Helen, I challenge you next time. I want to see a little bit switch up in your conference gear.
Well, I do wear runners sometimes, but I will say they match my outfits. But I agree with you. I think that is the challenge. And my question to you would be, did you feel still empowered and did you still feel confident? Because that's the key. As long as you feel the confidence in what you're wearing when you go into that room, that is all that matters.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
Yeah. When I stepped into that room, and I actually said this to Deb Smallwood, who was our keynote that day, I felt more myself when I stepped into that room than I ever had in my life, honestly.
Yeah. So that's the celebratory piece right there, right? You should celebrate that.
I resonate with that big time. I remember even a few years ago, I'd go to Toronto every second month and go to these big meetings, and I would just despise the fact that I just despise corporate attire. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And if you see me at a conference, you see me in a meeting, you'll be like, "Oh, she's averagely dressed," but I don't like any of it. Like if I were to pick my closet, if you guys were to see it, it would not be this stuff, right? So I totally get that. Like, wear what you feel the best in, because when you're more comfortable, it's just everything flows.
Yeah.
Opposite.
Like I'm dressy. I'm dressy. Me and Diane.
Yeah.
You guys I love being in a suit. I love it. I love heels. My feet do not That's the problem. Mentally, I love great pair of heels and like walking in a suit. That makes me feel great. So I'm in the tech office. Everyone's all casual and I'm in a suit. I'm like, yeah, well.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Dad, I'm not going to gatekeep. I bought a pair of those sneaks, the high-heeled Sarah Blakely sneakers.
Buy those.
Game changer for a conference.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to buy those.
We'll drop the link in the show notes. They're a game changer. And the first thing that people ask is, are they comfortable? They are seriously, amazingly comfortable. They come in a variety of colors. I think Sarah Blakely is ingenious with this invention. She saw a need for herself, a need in the market. And so she just did it. And I love that.
All over my feed on Instagram and other socials these days are these cozy island shoes. And they are supposed to be their heels, but they're supposed to have more support and more cushioning in them. So those would be next. Because I love heels. As much as I love my runners, I love heels. I will walk all day long in 3-inch heels.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
Yeah.
So, ladies, what has been the most pivotal part of the last year? I know last time we talked, we were excited about North Star goals. We were excited about our personal vision statement. We were excited about core values. So did anybody do their homework and actually write out their core values and their personal vision, North Star?
I think I did, but I'm going to tell you that I probably haven't practiced it enough. However, I will say that as a result from this year to, like, if I was to visually look back of what's happened over the past 12 months, for me specifically, I think I've grown more into my voice. I think I've grown more into my own identity, for lack of a better word there, with all of the learnings and the people I get to talk to from the podcast and outside of the podcast. I know now some more strength of mine that I didn't have before, right? And I know to champion myself as well as other people in my presence, in like immediate and external presence. So I think for me, that's my growth moment from the past 12 months, is what I have done for others. Do I still need to do work on myself? Freaking do I? Like, there's still things I've done because I feel I've poured myself into lots of other people, but I'm all appreciative for it and happy for everything that I've gone through.
I've seen that growth in you, Helen. Just even like,
thanks, honey.
now, just like your voice, I'm like, oh, you're so smart. Like, you're so insightful. And the confidence that you have now that you didn't have in those first couple episodes. Sometimes when I'm editing, I'm like, oh, Helen, like, you could like do this as a career, like be on The View. Like, you're so good at it.
I get kicked off. They need a button.
Yeah, they do.
They need a button.
The Canadian version.
But I love that. Thanks, Tan. And that's part of our empowerment piece, right? The girls and I have our own group chat, and there's times that Tan and I talk early in the morning because she's 3 hours ahead of the three of us. So she's up earlier than they are, and we're talking away. But it's also that community that we've had, that I feel that I've gotten between the three girls, that I wouldn't exchange for anything.
Yeah,
bar none.
I want to ask you a question, Helen, about finding your voice and also balancing that voice with three other people. So has there ever been a moment during the podcast in the last season and a half where you've vehemently disagreed and really had to use that confidence to respectfully disagree, but assert your point? Like, what did that look like?
I think we're very cognizant of each other. I think I can read the girls very well when I know they have something to say versus they don't have something to say. And that's no disrespect, but I think that's what we've all kind of can read each other a little bit better. As for any disagreements in terms of opinions and brought them up, we really have. I feel there may have been one, but I don't know which episode. It would have been early on. But there hasn't been really. And maybe that's a challenge to us, Tinsley, that you're putting out to us, is to find a topic to which we could, the four of us, not duke it out, but we could have
a healthy debate.
Yeah. Not sure what that would be.
I think we've been so like focused on it. I think it's what's so fascinating for all of us is to hear all these different perspectives, right? So whether it's our own and then the guest that's on, that there's just so much, kind of speaking for myself, there's so much running through your brain of, oh, okay, I'm going to jot that down, or I remembered I didn't handle that well last week, or whatever it is, that for me, I'm still in learning mode, that it's, I haven't even like, I was thinking about just when you were talking there, Helen, like I almost haven't even I know I have digested all the learning, but I feel like I'm still just like sponge soaking up everything everybody has to say, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to do one quick call out, and that's to Tinsley, who, because of you, we met Sheila, who we had on our podcast. And I'm going to say in this season's recordings, she was truly amazing. And all of us sat there the whole time, pretty much like this, absorbing everything she said. So I think we've had more of those moments versus the moments that we need to debate something or not agree with something on camera. I think sometimes you'll find the four of us going, oh my God, we're so involved in what someone's saying and just soaking it in that sometimes we forget that we're leading these podcasts. At least I do, because I'm so involved in just soaking their knowledge and learning from them.
So the great thing about Sheila, and I know you don't know, you might know this or not, but Sheila was my coach. And she was the one that I tell the story about that taught me that I lacked empathy. Like she was a huge catalyst, and she was somebody that I invested in coaching when I didn't have money to invest in coaching. And that's why I tell people, if you don't have the money to invest in coaching, go find it. I don't care if you need to sell some stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I need you to get it, because it can be a game changer for your personal life, for your leadership style, for your career. And Sheila's, one of her best gifts is asking the right questions at the right time, because what happens is you end up solving your own problem because she has known exactly what question to insert at the right time.
Yep. I did a quick 30 minutes with her. And I'm telling you, I came back to the girls. I'm like, it was amazing. I may have cried, but it was amazing.
That's good. That's some good coaching if you cry, right?
Isn't it?
So Jen, talk to me about the last year of your life and maybe where you've grown or where you're still growing.
Yeah, I think it's still on that perspective part. I think that this whole thing, the whole podcast, meeting you guys, meeting everybody we get to talk to, people that have, done other things or at different stages. It's really been mentorship in disguise. And so I think if you're, at Goose Digital, we're about a 10-year company this year, and it gets, there's about 5 of us ish at the top, and that gets lonely. Like I was saying to the girls when we were speaking a couple last month, I said, like, where else do you get leadership training? Unless you go and, like you said, put yourself into those situations, you pay for coaching, or you're maybe with a bigger organization that can put you through that. Like, you just don't know. It's my first time. It's a lot of people's first time. So I think it's just I'm still in learning mode. I think I definitely have put things into practice, and I can hear people's voices that we've had on the podcast being like, okay, this is, I can hear the voices in the back of my head basically saying, don't commit to this, don't overcommit to this, or put your boundary up here, or, take a moment, take a step back. So I think I'm still in putting in practice mode. But it's been pretty, especially post-COVID, like in remote or hybrid environments, like this has been an absolute game changer with learning. Like, yeah.
One of my things that I was like very surprised about was the men. And I know that sounds weird when our podcast is labeled like women in insurance,
Right.
but the amount of men that come up to us and either quote us back, like say, you know, oh, I saw this episode where you said this that really hit home with me, or for my wife, or for even myself and what I'm thinking. That has been really great, because our goal was never to, you know, we're not rising women by bashing men. We're not trying to, it's always been about,
Absolutely not.
yeah. So it's always been, you know, supportive and just uplifting, but just to have the men viewers that really come out, and they come out at like every conference. We've got people walking out saying, you know, I love what you guys are doing. I'm your biggest fans. And like, that's amazing. You think you start a podcast just so you can chat and have, you know, some nice conversations and meet some people. And we've had so many people reach out to us about the positive things they're taking away from it. And that is, it's kind of surreal sometimes.
And you want
My
men
own
to be part of these conversations. Like my husband's in insurance, and we have conversations all the time about women and business and life in general and leadership and how it is lonely at times. And you want them. You don't want this to be an us versus them conversation. You want it to be an everyone conversation.
Yeah, that's the point of the conversation, right? It's the point of the open conversation to bring everyone into it.
Yeah.
If you want the equality we're trying to achieve, everybody has to be into that conversation, and they have to see both perspectives, and kind of, because it's not, here's the thing, it's not always overt. It's the subtle micro things that, you know, are so entrenched in our day to day that even my husband is like, oh my gosh, like even like sometimes he's like, I don't realize how hard things are for you compared to what it is for me. And I think when those are some aha moments, I think that we can highlight for people. And Tinsley, if I can, so you know your North Star goals.
Yes.
This is kind of embarrassing, but I do recommend you do this. So I took that, but I decided to do a biannual meeting with my husband as if we're a business team.
I love this.
We need to be on the same page. Our goals have to be similar or heading the same way, right? Because we're a family unit. And I was like, I have an exercise for us. And I took the North Star goals and we did them together as a family and what we want and what our
I
core values
love
are.
this.
I love that, Tan.
We're each working together so that we have that ideal sense of connection that we want. And that has to include our jobs and our professional careers, right?
Yeah.
And so big one for me was boundaries and balance. Because as a perfectionist, and I'm working on it, nothing ever seems good enough. So, you know, you obsess and you work harder than you should. My husband would always say, like, you make things harder for yourself than they should be. And so that's, you know, that's a goal I had, was like, good enough is enough.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Good enough is enough. So
Good enough is enough. Yeah. Isn't
so
it
anybody
funny how
listening or watching, do it with your partner. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
I love that.
I do love
I've
that.
always said, like, it's great for organizations to do it together so that, you know, everybody understands what their personal vision statement is. If I'm sitting next to Diane, I can look on her mouse pad and say, oh, Diane's personal vision statement is XYZ. And Tanya says this. And then our overall organizations is this, but everybody's aware. And that's how you can pair people up on projects. That's how you can have really great career conversations. But you know what? I've never thought of it as a family exercise. And now you've given me lots of good ideas.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's amazing. And it's almost like I should do this too. It's like, did you find, Tan, that it's at this time of life that I think it's so important, because there's just so much, you're just in the grind. You're in the growth mode. I don't know why you're in the growth mode, or I at least was when I was 25 too, but I feel like it's different. So it's almost like you hit these crossroads where you're like, okay, no, let's sit down and actually deal with this together so we grow. And like you said, Tinsley, whether it's your spouse or your team, it's kind of the same outcome, right? But very interesting to do with.
We should do the four of us, like just have a working session of it.
So Diane, I don't know if you spoke to your biggest growth this year.
Mostly, I mean, I know we're all kind of leaning on the podcast end of everything because work has always been chaotic. Family has always been chaotic. I mean, I'm still in like potty training mode. So
You are. You're in mom and hard.
Yeah.
I'm in the weeds of it all at home. But I would say, I mean, yeah, it sounds cliche, but the podcast has really opened a lot of doors for us. Like, I don't know if you know, we did a live podcast.
I saw this.
In front of people. Like that.
Didn't you feel like a celebrity? Wasn't that a cool moment?
Yeah, let's be clear. The people really, the people didn't have a choice but to listen to us because we were at their symposium. So let's add that little stress
Nothing wrong
level
with
to
a
that,
captive audience.
right? They wanted their hours, their educational hours. They had to stay.
Yeah.
It's a first step.
It's a first step. It was
Great.
a big step for us because I mean, just being on the podcast on a video was scary. So to actually go and do it on stage and be, mic'd up and talking, and that was, and we jumped at it. We were asked and we were like, "Yup, we're there."
Yep.
No hesitation. So that was a pretty big.
That's a big moment.
Yeah.
And it comes back down to the same thing of why the benefits of what it's offering to us, it's hopefully offering to everybody else. So they feel less alone. So they, don't have to wait 15 years to start gaining this information. They can gain it now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And doing the thing that they want to do. We all have those 3 o'clock in the morning moments of, I really want to do this, or I want to serve this group of people. But fear keeps a lot of people stuck. And if you can show them like, hey, we started this podcast, we didn't really know what we were going to do with it. We didn't know how it was going to progress. But a year in, you've met amazing people. You're going out in the community. You're sharing your message.
Yeah.
Just do it. Like Nike got it right when they said this.
Yeah.
Right.
Do the thing. So this is the time in the show where I ask you a question, and I'm gonna ask each of you this question, and I'm gonna start with Helen. Helen, you go out to the mailbox and you received a letter from 80-year-old Helen. And in that letter, 80-year-old Helen is telling Helen of today all the amazing places and people she met and the impact that she made. So tell me a little bit about what's in that letter.
Well, let's first hope that her cursive is so much better than the Helen of today, because otherwise I can't read it, because it's pretty bad. I'm going to say the thing that the 80-year-old Helen is telling me today is the people that she's met and the places she's been are all because of the way she's put herself out there and let go of her imperfections or thinking that she didn't belong or that thinking she wasn't worth it. She truly is. So that's the things and the people could be just anybody. They could be friends and colleagues and, just cowboys. I don't know, whoever she's met, right? She's met a lot of people, trust me. But it's really about being open to meet those people and not being closed off, because they have something to offer you and I have something to offer them.
Brilliant. All right, Diane, you're up.
I think my 80-year-old self will probably say to remember the why, the why that was so important while getting there, because I have a habit of diving into things and getting absorbed, and then I forget that the most important things are what I come home to, and having a bit of that balance. So enjoying the journey a little bit more and getting, spending it with my kids. I don't know if I totally messed up the question.
No, you answered it perfectly. Remember the why.
Yeah.
Remember that. Well, actually, remember the who you're doing it for.
Yeah.
All right, Tanya.
It's a hard one. Oh my goodness. I think my 80-year-old self would say, don't stop doing things because you're scared. Things are hard. You're going to be rejected, and that's okay.
Yes.
If someone says no, or someone says you're not good enough, go to someone else or try again, because that you'll get a no, you'll get a second no, you'll get a third no. But if you're really passionate about something, keep going.
Agree.
Rejection is protection and redirection.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
Jen.
I was going to say, Tan, your 80-year-old self will also have great eyebrows, hair, and makeup on. I'm just saying.
And fuchsia
100%.
lipstick, right? The
Yeah.
fuchsia fire lipstick.
Yeah.
Even with my
Hands
walker,
down.
I'll be like,
You will be working it. Sorry, Jen.
No, it's true. It's true. I think all three, I mean, I would definitely be saying all three of these to my 80-year-old or to my younger self. But I definitely think you need to enjoy it more. Enjoy it more.
that's a good one.
You touched on that, Di, but that is 100%, I think, my looking back to say it didn't all have to be so serious.
Enjoy the ride.
Jen,
Yeah, exactly.
goosebumps. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, that was good.
I agree with that.
Ladies, it was so fun to turn the podcast mic around and showcase the four of you in this full circle moment. I am so proud. And my only question is, when are we going to get together and do a live podcast together? Can we make that happen?
Yeah.
Well,
Manifestation. That's
right? I was just
Let's
going to
just
say,
put
you
it out there.
manifested. Yep. You manifested your podcast, Tinsley. So as a collective, we'll manifest the in-person one for sure.
We're on it now.
All
And
right.
Tinsley, I just want to say, I'm really proud of you. I've been following you on Instagram and all the content you've been creating, and it's been fantastic. So
I agree.
if you guys aren't following Tinsley already, you have to. Like, it's just so inspiring, and the advice you're giving, especially where I am in my career. Please, if you're not already following Tinsley, maybe, I don't know, Brett, you're doing all the stuff, but like link it below. I love seeing your content. Love it. It's so
I
inspiring.
agree.
Thank you for that plug.
And that's even on all platforms, right? On anywhere you can find Tinsley. I know primarily I see you on LinkedIn and the things that you're doing there. But on any of your platforms, I agree. It's well worth it.
Yeah.
It's
I
a lot
think
of fun.
too, even on that, Tinsley, like I feel like you've taught us so much of where we're at right now. Like I'll always remember you coming back to the self-aware conversation in your leadership. And I always think about that. I'm like, well, if Tinsley can do this, I can do this.
Yeah.
Like if Tinsley can recognize, where she needs to grow and change, then so can I. And I just think like, that's it. Like that is the mic drop for everybody else. That is just, it's so valuable. Your kids must be so proud of you, because that's just, that's just awesome.
Well, ladies, it's about knowing yourself to lead yourself and giving yourself the grace. Like, give yourself a break, girlfriends. It's hard out there.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on that note, blessings to you as you head into the second season. I know I've seen some of the guests already. They're fire. Keep doing amazing things. And I'll see you when we do our in-person episode. How's that sound?
yes.
Absolutely.
It's been such a pleasure to be here. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Do it messy, I always say. Do it imperfect, but do it anyway. Shining your light day by day with compassion for yourself and others. Like Jesus said, loving one another. Grit, growth, and gumption. We all need a little something to pick up and see us through when the world comes down on you. Not everyone's made like us. Not everyone's brave enough. They need us to show up with grit, growth, and gumption.